Okay, thank you, Ed, and NACA, FAO, and the Shanghai Ocean University for the invitation and opportunity to be with the meeting and you all over these two days. So my job is to provide some snippets, some points from some work that we conducted largely in 2024, but also in early part of this year on innovation and investment for aquaculture transformation in the region. And what the way we are organizing this next session is I will make this opening presentation, then short opportunity for any questions, and then we'll invite 4 panelists to come here, and then we'll run through some questions, some arising from the assessment. Okay, so I think everyone knows the background and the anchoring of what we're all doing here and in much of our work is anchoring in the big agenda for the aquaculture in the region around aquaculture transformation, with strong emphasis on innovation and investment, and aligned to the big picture blue transformation roadmap of FAO, which includes aquaculture, capture of fisheries and value chains, but focus on aquaculture and the well-known white paper on aquaculture transformation that was first published in 2023, and essentially provides the guidance on putting the aquaculture transformation agenda for Asia and the Pacific region into action through various elements. And just a short refresh on the high-level targets in the white paper. Firstly, sustaining into the future the growth of aquaculture production by at least 3% annual growth and over 100 million tons by 2030. So improvements in the supply of aquaculture products. Improving the environmental and climate resilience was the second big target. Thirdly, the development of more efficient, inclusive, and resilient aquaculture value chains was the third target. Improving governance that supports aquaculture transformation was the fourth target, and recognizing the key need for strengthening partners, cooperation across the aquaculture system within the region, both at all levels, essentially, among governments, private sector, civil society organizations, all working towards aquaculture transformation. So these were the big targets that are in the aquaculture transformation white paper. So five years to pull the needle on these big targets. So following essentially the work that was conducted that I'll talk about was during last year and the early part of this year in collaboration with FAO and NACA colleagues. we looked at, tried to get some initial assessment of innovation, the types of innovation, and against the different aquaculture transformation targets. And we identified some showcases which are to illustrate different aspects of the way in which innovation can contribute to achieving these targets. So innovation, as we see this, is really practical implementation of research and ideas, bringing new approaches, new goods, new services, or improving the aquaculture system in various ways. So it's really about putting ideas into practice, into impact in various ways. So what I'm going to do now, firstly, is run through some of the categories that we looked at in the assessment, and followed by some sort of high-level conclusions or ideas or issues emerging from the assessment. And we had 12 innovation categories that we explored. And we made also during this process some country visits, talking with various stakeholders in a number of countries. And this assessment is partly reflecting the consultations and the deeper look that we had in certain countries, and rather than a complete in-depth analysis of every country in the region. So the first category, which is a very diverse and wide category of new or novel innovations around new or novel production systems. And if we look around the region, we can see tremendous diversity in farming systems, reducing or efficiencies in use of energy, land, of water. We can see new frontiers. For example, you'll hear later about nature-based solution systems. And of course, the region has a tremendous diversity of innovation, both historically and ongoing in aquaculture production systems, that covers enterprises of all sizes from small to large. And a couple of examples that we explored with innovators in Thailand was urban aquaculture, and you can see an urban mud crab condominium type system, recycling water for brackish water crab production in Thailand, and a fairly unique biofloc recycle system, low cost in comparison with many new RAS systems that are appearing on the market globally, and quite a unique system in Thailand. So we dug deeper into some of the innovations, and we talked with innovators, tried to understand what sort of their story, the challenges faced, and the lessons for the wider community. And I'm sure we can all think of many outside these examples, and it would be great to hear more. The second area of innovation we looked at was around genetics and improving the quality of seed for aquaculture within the region. We can see advances in genetic improvement, domestication, the use of modern genetic tools, often developed in human, livestock, and other sectors, being used in genetics and in distribution system. There are few younger, small startups, and much of the work on innovation in genetics takes place in corporates or larger SMEs. One of the things that stood out to us in looking across the genetics innovation area was the focus on relatively few species, and that there are many species across Asia's diverse aquaculture system that would benefit from more investment in genetic innovation. And I think we see carps in particular as a really important food security item, which is not, apart from some notable examples, one in India, but not really invested to the level of genetic innovation that they should be. Of course, there's a tremendous growth in smart farming systems, AI, machine learning. It's a very fast-growing innovation category, and there are many new companies developing and bringing innovations to market. And one example here, smart aerator energy management systems with a company, Hydroneo, in Thailand. But there are quite a few companies active in this area, and definitely it's a category of innovation where we expect further growth, further application into the future. You'll see actually the icons on the left are an attempt to start to categorize different innovations against the different transformation areas. The first one is the transformation target 1 about production increase. The second is around climate and environmental resilience. So we looked at these different categories through the lens of the aquaculture transformation targets, but quite challenging to do because many innovations cover broadly the target areas. The fourth category around health management, disease control, health products, and we'll no doubt be hearing more about this category from our panel. But we talked with a number of companies active in disease, early warning systems, vaccinations, various use of products in health management of both shrimp, fish, and a number of species within that. Again, there's a focus on the higher value species, but this is a very fast-moving, important, and developing area of innovation in the region. The fifth category, novel feed ingredients, and a very significant push to innovate in the area of new ingredients, particularly, and there are many opportunities, but particularly driven by the need to reduce reliance on fish meal, marine sources of fish meal and fish oils in diets, and also the push to move away from use of ingredients in fish feed that compete with agricultural human uses. So these are just two examples, again, from Thailand on the left, two companies based in Thailand, developing products around black soldier fly, but there are a number and quite a diversity of products under various stages of development. And we recently, on the right-hand side, you'll see colleague Niran visiting Artemia biomass systems in Thailand, and exploring the potential use of Artemia as an alternative source of high-value novel protein in diets. Some progress, but the big challenge here is to reach the scale and the pricing and the volumes that allow these products to be taken up in aquaculture diets, but a fast innovating area. Financial services and products was our sixth innovation area. Insurance and credit, microfinance systems, data-driven credit rating, an emerging area, and I suspect we'll hear more about this tomorrow. But despite the development of online and digital tools, finance for many smallholders, many farmers remains a significant challenge and opportunity, but an area of a fair bit of innovation and an area of significant opportunity for the future. Our seventh area category was around water quality, waste management, circular economy. Again, a strong environmental outcomes from the innovations in this area. So insect companies recycling waste from agriculture and other sources, circular farming systems, reduction of waste and loss in aquaculture systems, satellites being used for assessing and managing environmental risks, but another very strong and developing innovation category, which offers significant potential for both improving efficiency and profitability whilst mitigating impacts and use of natural resources. The diagram on the left is actually taken from a European initiative, which is to reuse, recycle in various ways 100% of the fish. And we can see, as we look around the region, tremendous opportunities to be doing more recycling, adding value more to the products that we produce. The middle is an Artemia system, again, that's based on agro and food industry waste in Thailand. And this is an important and developing area of innovation, putting supposed waste materials into higher value and use. The eighth area we called social innovation, and a number of startups, innovative companies in the region focusing on how to reach, how to support, how to empower smallholders. Quite a lot of activity in the seaweed industry, which is dominated by smallholders, and Philippines has some very nice examples. Thailand, there's work in a number of places on seaweed farming, involving local communities, clusters, bringing people together, and some digital platforms in the Mekong region that are focused on reaching out, engaging, empowering smallholders. So this is another important area of innovation, and given the high proportion of smallholders, an important area to continue to focus on into the future. Ninth area, climate and energy, so related to some of the earlier categories, but basically focusing on reducing energy use, enhancing renewable energy. And there's some great examples in Thailand. We know this is happening more broadly, but there's some excellent work on using solar energy in shrimp farming in Thailand, and this has been an initiative FAO, the Department of Fisheries, and private companies all looking to reduce carbon footprint and make commitments towards decarbonizing, shrimp and other aquaculture product supply chain. So you can see the direction. You can see a tremendous amount of innovation, happening in this space. The 10th area, and there's just a couple more, is around the value chains and particularly use of value chains to connect or fragmented value chains in a better way. And there's some examples, good examples, again, in seaweed from Indonesia. We may hear more about that tomorrow. Domestic fish sales, and this is one example of a company from India, but many countries now innovating around the use of digital products, connecting producers to inputs, to markets, to aggregation, to greater traceability of products, particularly using digital tools, and that will certainly continue. And seaweeds has been a very traditional part of the Asia aquaculture scene for many years. We can see an innovation in seaweed and plants, and they're aquatic plants. Offshore seaweed systems emerging in Indonesia, a tremendous diversity of products coming from seaweed, many of them used on agriculture, diverse uses, some specialized use in aquaculture, but a broad set of new products emerging from innovations in seaweeds, which can add value to the seaweed, to the producers, to the other value chain participants. So an area that will certainly see a lot of significant improvement in the future. And Salicornia, a range of aquatic plants, I think recently this was highlighted to me, and a fascinating use and opportunity in saline coastal areas. So quite a bit of innovation in this space. And finally, the category of innovation around institutions, policy, and governance. I think traditionally we do think of the innovation as more the technology, but we also need to think, support innovation in institutions, partnerships, policy, and governance. And this is brought to the fore in the aquaculture transformation target areas of 4 and 5. As you look around the region, we have Thailand, the National Innovation Agency, working with various partners in the aquaculture space, so aiming to stimulate an ecosystem where you have young companies, corporates, government, investors, all working towards newer areas of innovation and gathering investment into that innovation. Was lucky enough to also spend some time in India visiting ICAR, but also the Innovation Sea Camp in Bangalore. And that's another example of where young companies are supported to connect with research facilities, connect with other young companies, investors, with the idea of creating an environment where innovation can grow, but not only can grow, can draw in partners, investors to have an impact. And in Thailand, SpaceF has got a well-known innovation entity that is focused on startups in the food industry, that includes aquaculture, and the NACA hub is also starting to develop as another potentially influential innovation and investment hub or entity within the region that can also, support innovation and investment. So we look broadly across these areas of innovation. We looked and then we talked to various people involved in innovation and investment space in a number of countries. And these are some of the key themes. And the purpose of presenting the key themes here is really try to stimulate, maybe stimulate the panel, but also stimulate some ideas, sharing of ideas, but more importantly, identifying areas of action for the future, and how can we all work together to progress aquaculture transformation through innovation and investment. So if we look at the different target areas and we take some broad brush look at the status of innovation, we can see obviously that the target one for production, food supply is a target for many of the innovative companies active in aquaculture. We can see also that higher value species, particularly shrimp, are a big focus of innovative companies, and perhaps less focus on lower domestic freshwater commodity species. So the graph on the right was actually some work conducted in 2023, where we looked at categories of the species that were the target of startup companies in a number of countries across the region. And you can see a strong emphasis on shrimp, marine species, much less emphasis on freshwater and domestic production. And at that time, not so much emphasis on seaweed, but that has been growing recently. So I think a message is we need to ensure that our investments in innovation are widely targeting the needs of the sector. We can see that perhaps a secondary outcome from many areas of innovation is climate and environmental resilience. It's quite difficult to assess the progress in that area, but you can certainly see companies that are focused on building innovative businesses that are reducing energy use, carbon footprints, and the like. But perhaps more emphasis needed as we move forward. The value chain's target is also a bit challenging to assess, but perhaps the most prominent areas of innovation that come out from looking around the region are the growing use of digital platforms that connect all parts of the value chain, but only just starting. And for many of them focused on shrimp, higher value species, and less penetration to smallholders, and perhaps limited penetration in many countries. Targets 4 and 5 around policy, governance, partnerships, you can see progress, and I gave some examples, but there are more examples, but clearly more opportunities to grow. And there are synergies across the targets, the innovation and targets of course. I think moving forward, as we start to develop the monitoring system within the region, then we'll be able to explore how different areas of innovation are connecting in a more quantitative and evidence-based way to the different targets, and then we can really start to understand progress. This is a colleague, so I'll talk about, I'm going through some of the sort of challenge or topic areas. This is a colleague, Neil Wendover's work on low trophic species. And what he's done is he's looked at the future demand for aquatic animal food, and then he's taken salmon, shrimp, and a category of low trophic species, mainly carps and tilapias, and looked at the growth needed in each of those sectors. The point being that we can focus on high-value species to produce more fish at scale, or shrimp at scale, but the most efficient way of producing more fish at scale is to focus on the low trophic carps, tilapia, catfishes in the region. And if we look at innovation across the region, there is much less focus on innovation and investment in this low trophic category. So focus on areas of the aquaculture system that are important for food and bulk food production into the future is important for future innovation. Financing, I shouldn't say too much about financing. This will be the topic of the group, the panel tomorrow, but broadly, there is a financing gap in the region of billions of dollars. So that's an opportunity. We can see that private investment has grown significantly in the region. But again, if we explore innovation, the startup community, we can see that there's a focus on financing, again, more high value, less low trophic. So we need to look at the balance between financing, impact, food production, and how to make that work. Again, as I'm sure everyone knows, many SMEs and smallholders are facing significant financing constraints. If we look at venture capital and the startup ecosystem, there is, again, a very narrow focus on certain species, productivity, health, and feed and digital products. There are many gaps. The diagram on the right is a hatch blue analysis of venture capital fund by region in 2024, and they tracked over $600 million worth of investments and the geography of those investments. So we know aquaculture in Asia, as we heard again this morning, is over 90% of the globe production. You can see where much of the investment in the innovation and venture capital space is going. It's not going to the Asia Pacific. There's a huge misalignment between need, opportunity, and where investments are being made. There are some subtleties here. There are probably more investment into innovative companies happening in Asia than are picked out at the global level. But to me, there's a very strong message here that Asia is lagging investment in innovation. And that's important and actually serious given the importance of aquaculture in the region. So progress made, but significant more to do. Investment risk remains high for many investors, and that's a key governance and policy issue that is important for action at the business and country level. We can see significant country differences. So we've pulled out from databases the category of innovative aquaculture companies. So we can see that there are a lot of differences around the region, and the national context, it plays an important part in innovation and investment. The investability of companies, the finance systems, which in many countries can be probably more effectively mobilized, the ecosystems that support innovation and investment. And obviously national priorities differ, markets, consumers, development status. But to me, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of opportunity for sharing, a lot of opportunity for collaboration and partnerships across countries to support innovation and sharing of learning and innovation and investment. A key issue is scaling. So a lot of innovation around, but does it have an impact at the scale needed? To take innovations from very early stage to large impact needs different investors, and often it may take many, many years. So whilst we're focusing on identifying and supporting innovations, taking those to farmers to scale is critically important. And we know that policies and regulations, as well as investments, are important, and investments across the whole development process. This is from colleague Niran and some of the recent work focusing on how to catalyze more adoption of innovation in aquaculture. And many of the startup companies that we talk to face many constraints in getting innovations out or working with farming communities for various reasons: knowledge, practice, new technology, finance, cultural aspects, demonstrating decent return on economic investment, regulatory complexity, and just marketing. So there's a diversity of constraints that all need to be understood and supported. Private sector is a diverse sector, and as we support innovation and investment, we need to be thinking right across the private sector, engaging and looking at opportunities for corporates to work with smallholders, SMEs, and focusing on the system as a whole rather than just parts of it. And finally, governance and regulations. Many of the innovative companies face significant challenges with new technologies, particularly in health and feed and regulatory hurdles. And so we feel that a focus on policy and regulation to support innovation, investment is a key and important government action for greater investment in aquaculture transformation. And institutions play a key role. And on the left is a diagram also from Hatch Blue of looking at innovation centers across the world. And again, you can see significant numbers in Europe and Asia, relatively few. Europe and America, relatively few within Asia. So the NACA initiative, which we've all been part of to enhance and build an aqua hub in Thailand, is going to fill a really significant niche here. So in summary, as we look innovation and investment in aquaculture transformation, looking forward and some ideas for discussion, hopefully during the HLM3. We need innovation across the aquaculture system, not just high-value species, but broadly across the system, and probably more focus on low trophic species. Of course, challenges in doing that in terms of value, but the impact is likely to be significant. There needs to be more focus on ensuring adoption and impact at scale. Rapid systems that allow prototyping, learning, moving on, and regulatory systems that support adoption of new innovation. Partnerships continue to be important. Again, a focus on SMEs and smallholders as 90% of the farmers in the region, and evidence and data so that policymakers, companies can understand the potential, market size, and inform progress. And all of this is completely ripe for enhanced regional cooperation in innovation and investment. And we hope that this HLM3 will enhance and catalyze more opportunities to work together for aquaculture transformation, innovation, and investment in the region. Okay, thank you very much.